All right. Welcome. My name's Justin. This is AI for the Masses, and I am continuing the development of my indie game, The Story of Someone. Been doing some work off stream, and one of the things that I have been working on is trying to create procedurally generated characters. And I'm kind of in the middle of that process. And as a result of being in the middle of that process, let's see if I can make this bigger. Yeah, I currently have a ghost town. There's nobody here. So I think I can there's a chance that I might get some people in this town if I put it in night mode, but I'm not sure if I can anymore. Okay, that looked like that might have worked. And if we wait long enough and go look at a bed, a person might pop up in one of the beds. But it's obvious to me that that's not what I want in the game. I want to actually have people walking around. And I feel like walking around is the first thing that you would want characters in a game to be able to do. At least move from one location to another. So I've been trying to come up with ways to create NPCs that not only can walk but can do other animations and can also be procedurally generated. So I want to have an infinite number of combinations of characters with different body types and anatomy and eye color and face shapes and things like that, where I don't have to draw new characters or draw a whole bunch of characters and draw so many that then somebody who's playing the game would basically never notice that there's a repeat. I want there to genuinely be no repeats. Excuse me. Oh, had a little thing there. So what I have been doing, I've been playing around with the idea of having procedurally generated characters, and I'll show you that first. So I do have a subdirectory here that is NPC generator sandbox. So why don't I go to that first? And so NPC generator sandbox. All right, so hopefully this still runs exclusively on its own. And this is where I was playing around with basically making the body shapes, but I was focusing more on the head and the neck and the face. And I can do different categories of male and female. I can do three different age ranges, basically child, adult, and elder. I primarily focused on adult as kind of like a baseline, and specifically a male adult. And then what I want to do is, as I get more and more features, then focus on female adult. And then the AI was doing a pretty good job of kind of adjusting things for elder and especially child. I was kind of actually impressed at its interpretation of these different body types. So first let me show you that I can regenerate different shapes and faces of different people. Everybody's got the same haircut right now because I was just basically creating more like a hairline, just a boundary, a frame for the face, and then I can create different hairstyles on top of that later, like having lower hairlines and bigger haircuts and hairstyles and things like that. So every once in a while, it's rare. It's only 5% of the time. So this may take a minute. There is, hopefully I don't, oh, there's a bald head. So I did do that, kind of playing around with the idea of having people with different particular traits. And I'm thinking about having maybe some certain hairstyles that fit into a category, like say balding. Also just fully bald. I didn't do that. I just did a balding hairstyle. And then I could have longer hairstyles and then variations on those longer hairstyles. So I could have major categories for different hair types and and face types and nose types and mouth types, but then have variations in like an infinite set of variations for those different types. But right now I got some eye shapes, and I have some eye colors, and I have hair color and the occasional balding male. So if we go to elder, then 50% of the time that person is balding. Okay, and then I'm not really sure if I like how the body shapes are set up, but there's basically a chest area and a belly area, and then there's like a transition range in between where it goes. So if they have a wider chest and a narrow waist, it'll transition down to the narrow waist. But if they happen to have a big chest, like a smaller chest and a big belly, then it'll transition out. So here's like a fat elder. I have no arms and legs being generated yet. And the reason is because as I did have fun with this generator, and I'm pretty happy with how it's going. But I felt like I was getting a little too deep in the distraction of, well, how am I going to animate this stuff? And everybody's just facing forward. And really, the hardest part is when they're moving side to side, or at least what I'm imagining is the harder part. So I decided to stop with this, and I moved to a different sandbox that I'm in the middle of. I struggled to get it to work, but I think I finally have an NPC animation sandbox. So what this is actually basically a drawing program that I integrated my pixel art making program and into the sandbox. And instead of the purpose being to draw art, the purpose is to draw animation and skeleton animation. So what I did, I'm going to have to find the folder that's saving. Ooh. Do I remember where I was saving this stuff? I might not. This might take me a second, and I may have to start over if I can't find it. But I might know where it is. So the idea here is that I put the joints. I can just start over. I didn't get very far, and it would be interesting. Well, let me. Oh, that's because I'm not load. I pressed save, didn't I? I'm gonna load. Nope, that was it. Yeah, it might take me a second to find where I saved the old one. But like I said, I just tested to get it to work, and I didn't get very far. I can do it again. So why don't I just demonstrate the idea? So I made a 64 by 64 pixel square here, and the idea is that I have relabeled certain colors to be certain joints. Now the AI kind of just chose some arbitrary colors that and I'm only doing the lower half in this case because I wanted to start with a walking animation. So I have a right foot, a left knee, a right knee, and a hip joint. That's what this is supposed to be. The labels are not in the right spots, and I barely got this working. So in the first tile, I'm just gonna put where the foot is gonna be. So if that's the right foot, because I kind of know that there's a left foot and a right foot, and I see left over here. Oh, you can't really see what I'm working on. Let me zoom out a bit here. I wonder, maybe, how about this? How about I just make this smaller so you can see. Oh, I didn't mean to move the whole thing. All right. Let's do this a little bit more. Yeah, okay, that'll work. You should be able to see most of what I'm working on. I'm going to be working mostly down here in the bottom. All right, and then I can move me down here. Okay, this should mostly work. Okay, so I put a little foot. It's probably kind of small, but you see a little red dot there, and then that's the right foot. So if I put the right knee, and I'll put it like just higher and just to the right, it draws a line. So this is basically the shin. All right, and then if I do a left foot, let's say I just put it right in front. Actually, I'll do it right behind the right foot. And then I do the left knee, which oh yeah, I think it's the black. Then it draws another leg. Okay. So then I can do my hip bone up, and I have 2 thighs. Great. So all I have to do is put the joints in the position that I want. And the idea is that if I make assets like thighs, shins, which could be pants or could be shorts with exposed legs, if I put shoes at the feet, then I can just rotate those assets relative to the joint positions, and I can have procedurally generated body parts or pieces of clothing or holding items and things like that. And all they have to do is be rotated in space and then connected to those joints. And so then I can procedurally generate all the individual items and things, and there should be an infinite number of combinations that NPCs can have. And if NPCs have specific jobs, I like say maybe like a blacksmith, then I could have them wearing like maybe some big leather apron, or they're holding a hammer and they do the hammering motion, and I can just animate the joints. So let's do an example of animating the joint. So if I paste this in, it's really small. So let's expand this up just to enhance the scale. So I'm going to put the hip bone way up here, and notice how it deletes the old hip bone. So then I'm going to move the right knee up and the left knee right behind. Okay, so now the idea is, and this actually, the animation, not only is it off screen for you, it's not even fully in the window for my view either. But let's at least try and bring this in a little bit so you can see at least as much as I'm seeing. Okay, so it's cropped for me as well. I'll fix it when I go into the coding. But you can at least kind of see, actually, why don't we just go ahead and let's just move the hip up higher, move the left knee up higher, move the right knee. This is good practice for me too. And then I'm going to move the feet so it's not cropped at the bottom. Oh, that was not it. Oh, and that was the wrong foot. Okay, there. And then left foot right here. So yeah, there's a lot with the UI. I definitely have some things that I need to change. That still wasn't high enough. Oh, that's because I haven't pasted it. Okay, there we go. So now we can see the legs. All right. Now, what do? So I go to the next frame. Well, first of all, there is an argument for the idea that the feet would just be possibly swapped at the middle frame, and then all I have to do is that, and then I can paste. Okay, and you'll see what I'm doing in a second if this doesn't make sense. So now I want the one leg to go back and one leg to be stepping forward. So I'm going to go ahead and move the right foot back. Let's move it back further. And then the right knee back about halfway. And then I'm going to move the left foot forward. And then the left knee about halfway. Actually, let's go a little further, like that. Okay, so that's my attempt at making a simple walking animation. We're almost done. And now I've got to swap these positions. So this is where things get a little tricky because I might lose track as to where certain things are. So then right knee needs to be like out there. And then right foot, put here. And then left foot, I'll put back there. Actually there. I'll do it a little further back. Okay, let's see how this looks. So I feel like that is a basic 4-frame walking animation of legs. Not super impressive, but at least the front and back leg are actually being tracked individually. So this would allow me to create kind of like a shadow effect if I wanted, where I could potentially take, I don't know if I can even color on this. Oh, I can. So I could take, let's say that the right foot, the right leg is in the back. Oops, I deleted the knee. So that's okay. Right knee about there, and right foot about there. Then I can take and I could make the front leg maybe brighter, if this made sense artistically. Right? Okay, so then you could, in fact, it's kind of interesting. So let's go ahead and let's do that. Let's try and make some actual legs with some shade to them. So that means I'm going to do the opposite for this. I'm going to make back here basically the back leg, the leg that's further away from us, and then the front leg, the leg that's closer. And it would maybe be brighter. I don't know if that actually makes sense. Like I said, I'm not an artist. I am playing around with things as I go and learning what I can throughout the process. And the thing is that, let me go and paste that in. I'm just kind of figuring it out. So now if I copy, I could draw a little bit of leg, a little bit of dark leg. Let me bring it off to the side so it can be seen. Okay, a little bit of light leg, kind of offset here. All right. So paste. And then one more time, just slightly backwards. So the brighter leg is in the back. So from there we go. And then a little bit in the front and a little bit in the front too. All right, so now we have two different shaped or different colored legs walking and trading places. Like I said, not an artist, not an animator. Me personally, I'm pretty proud of this so far. I feel like I'm at least proving a certain concept here. Now, the thing is, this is where it becomes super important. I can export a JSON file that keeps track of the positions of each joint in the 64 by 64 grid as data. And I can output that data as a sequence of animations that can then be used as coordinates for anchoring the different body features that the NPC will have procedurally generated and get pasted onto the skeleton. And I plan on having offsets. So I'll create a standard walking animation, but let's say I want the character to be shorter or taller. So I can change the proportions of the character and change the distances between, say, the legs and the feet and the hip to make the person taller. Just add maybe 2 or 3 pixels to every joint and have them change relative to each other's positions. And so then I can have taller and shorter NPCs. I can have fatter and thinner NPCs, things like that. And because it's all based off of a standard anatomy that I have created. So this is where I'm at right now, and I'm pretty excited to get the shoulders and the elbows and the hands, and then like a position for the head generated, so that way I can take some of these procedurally generated features that I've made and slap them onto the skeleton. So that's where I'm at right now, and I was leaning towards making like inverse kinematics animations. I'm still kind of playing around with that idea possibly, but I was struggling a bit, and so I thought this might be a simpler solution in the short term to just make some pre-made canned animations that I can then put some procedurally generated stuff, and I I've been seeing more and more a lot of game developers say like make prototypes, and I feel like I kind of have all these different prototypes of aspects of my game instead of like a prototype of an entire game. And so this is me. This is my version of what I consider making prototypes. My game is compartmentalized in a lot of different ways that I can make one part of the game, but then I can pivot and make changes to that part, and it doesn't greatly affect the logic and the code of the rest of the game. It can more or less be integrated with the new upgrades and new ideas because of its compartmentalization. So that is where I'm at. I think the thing that I may want to... Okay, first of all, let's see if I can... If I save, where does it try to go? Okay, so where do I want to put this file? I think I want to put it in the assets. And tile sets? Man, I am not sure. Do I want... Or maybe I want to keep this in the sandbox. So let's see here. I might need to ask the AI. So let me consolidate all my code. Well, if I do that, then I don't end up saving. Let me save it somewhere. Just gonna call this walking test. I'm doing this off screen on my other screen here. Yeah, I'll just put it in my main folder for the animation sandbox, so that way I can close. And then let's consolidate all of my code. I tell you what, my code base is getting rather large within the context of the token window of an AI. Okay, so that should be everything. Let me find it. There we go. So I'm gonna drag this into Gemini. I like to keep my temperature at 0. Let me give it some basic rules here to follow. And I want to ask it when I export my animation file from the NPC animation sandbox, where do you think I should save the... I think it doesn't matter where I save the file that saves the state of the animator. I could probably just make my own, any folder I want, probably inside the animation sandbox, so it's obvious. That's not going to get used by the game. It's the JSON file that I export from that gets saved by the game. So I'll stick to the most important issue here, and ask about that. So where do you think I should save the JSON file with the joint coordinates for the NPC animations? Yeah, because it's not automatic right now. This is basically a sandbox for me to play around with and then export the files, and then the files that just get used probably by the NPC generator sandbox. So I think I might have just answered my own question. We'll see what it responds, or what its response is to this question. Just realized you can't really see what I'm typing here, and then so that response will get me thinking. But then I think I'm going to suggest, if I'm kind of like about its response, or maybe we'll agree, then I'm going to ask, would the NPC generator sandbox be where I should put it? Oh, excuse me, it's getting late. Sorry, I just thought I'd do a quick stream to show my my current progress. I don't know if I'll get very far on any improvements tonight. Oh yeah, look, my code base is now hitting 300,000 tokens, and I mean, you only get 1 million, maybe. So I mean, there's rumors right now. As of this stream, it's July 15th and 2025, and ChatGPT 5 is rumored to come out this summer. Summer for us in the northern hemisphere, and so I think that just as these AI company wars has been going so far, then that probably means that Google will put out some new feature for Gemini 2.5, and it'll either be Gemini 3 or maybe a 2.6, or what I'm hoping is it will be a larger token window. And I'm not expecting that to happen like immediately in the next month, but I hope it'll pressure them to come out with a bigger context window, hopefully just in time for me when I need it. Because I'm imagining that if my code base, when I have those moments where I feel like I need to put the entire code base in, it starts getting to around 800,000. That's about the largest amount of tokens that I could use and still have a usable leftover context window for doing work. I'd have about 200,000 tokens left over for actually processing some output. And I have seen that so far that Gemini can handle huge token input if it's one big thing. If you end up talking to Gemini for a long time in one chat and you've been doing a lot of rounds of talking and it's like 20,000 tokens like every prompt, then I feel like Gemini gets a little lost. And you can only get to about 300,000 tokens before it starts kind of falling apart. But if you give it a 500,000 token input, boom, all right away, it handles it perfectly fine. So I'm not worried about the context window being close to 1 million unless I can't get any work done once I have put my input tokens in and there's no room to get any output. All right. So a great place to store data file is within the asset data directory, following the existing pattern used for items. This keeps your data organized and separate from your graphical assets. So assets, data, animations, NPC for this purpose. I will then update the animation sandbox. Okay, so before I do all this, before I update all this code, I'm going to ask it. I need to tell it my plan. My plan is to have the NPC generator sandbox create assets for the NPCs and put them on the skeleton of the NPCs from the NPC animation sandbox. Would it make more sense to have the JSON files in the NPC generator sandbox? NPC generator sandbox, so that code has access to the JSON file, or would the generator sandbox be able... Hey, has anything? Oh, what is this? Reading, waving, thumbs up. Oh, I think that's coding. Okay, yeah. I see someone sitting in front of a computer. Yes, I am streaming. Yes, and it has been a couple days here. And if you are, let me type this prompt. I'll give you a tour of what I've done. Like there's been quite a bit of progress, even though I had one day of frustration that I was telling you about in your stream, which, by the way, anybody who's watching this, definitely go check out As Anything stream. He's really good, and he does vibe coding in a slightly different way than I do, which is good. We should all see different ways of doing the same kind of thing, especially because this technology is all very new. So everybody's kind of figuring this out, and I feel like myself and definitely As Anything have come up with some workflows that would be worthy of paying attention to. So one thing is, As Anything, I was listening to like the last 15, 20 minutes of your podcast, but I wasn't able to respond in the chat. And you were asking a question to me that I didn't get to respond to, which was about using maybe in your prompts. And I do have a response to that. So I'm not doing it in this prompt specifically, but I don't use the word maybe. I really use the word perhaps a lot, which I think linguistically is basically the same thing. And I feel like it kind of just ignores it. Like, at least Gemini doesn't seem to really acknowledge that I'm saying like, I'm not certain about this, but like, do you think this is a good idea? I think at least 50% of the time it just tells me what it thinks it should do, but doesn't really acknowledge the fact that I was uncertain about it. What I do find that is kind of a more intentional maybe is when I say, I want us to brainstorm stuff and I want you to give me the plan that you come up with and give me suggestions or give me some options here. And I feel like that is the much more confident version of saying, maybe we do this. So yeah, I feel like maybe and perhaps are the same thing. I also feel like they get kind of ignored unless you're really explicitly telling it to don't commit to any particular idea. Let's see if we can kind of figure this out. So that was my response to that. And that would have been a lot to type anyway, but I wasn't able to type. I was actually driving and listening to your podcast when you got to that point. So you say, I agree that it seems to ignore maybe perhaps it might be considered neutral. So it's like a nothingness to the AI. Yeah, I guess so. And 100%, that's a good solution. Ask for options and then select one or more. Yeah. I feel like that has been one of the more impressive moments that I've had with AI where I'm like, don't write code yet. I want us to come up with a plan. Give me a multi-step plan. And it'll literally come up with like a 7-step plan. And then I can say, okay, let's do step 1. And then it does step 1. It does not move on to step 2 until we've like tested step 1. And then, okay, now give me step 2. And it really breaks down the steps into usually compilable code at each phase of the steps, which I think is like wonderful that it does feel like you're working with a fellow coder who's like, all right, let's do this little piece first, compile, see how it behaves. Like most of the time, it's a compilable step, which I think is amazing. Okay, so what I was typing in here, and then when I finish this prompt, again, if I do actually have your attention, I'll give you a tour of what I've done. So let's see here. Would it make more sense to have the JSON files in the NPC generator sandbox so that code has access to the JSON, or would the generator sandbox be able to get access to the JSON file in the directory you suggested above? There we go. All right. So my prompt that I just typed will make a bit more sense when you see what it is that I've been working on. So I was trying to make NPCs, and I was playing around with having different generations of basically the art of an NPC. So So I can have different head shapes, ears, eyes, hair, and body types. I didn't do arms and legs yet. And I can just regenerate different skin tones based on my color palette. So I only pick the skin tone colors, different hair colors, different eye shapes, different chest and belly widths. I was kind of guessing on like what values I wanted for the width of a chest and a belly. And then there's a transition. So I mean, some of these look like these are guys with amputated like limbs. So, you know, that yeah, thanks. You're saying that's nuts. So different eye shapes and eye colors, hair colors, and then every once in a while, and literally it's 5% of the time, I'll try not to click past one. I played around with there being the probability of a different, is it gonna happen? Drum roll, come on. Man, 5% sure is rare, which I don't mind. I'm trying not to spoil it. It's not going to be that big of a deal, but basically, all right. So anyway, I can show you what I want to show you I can change the generation, meaning I can change how old they are. So I can go elder, adult, and child. And I can also go male and female. Are these combat interaction sprites? So right now this is very much just an experiment. And you'll see why in a minute that I pivoted, because I realized I'm not going to have an easy time making animations for these things. Like, it's great that I have all these procedurally generated images, but then how do I make them walk and squat down and lay down and things like that? So I needed to make the motion first and then put the art on the motion. So I pivoted. But real quick, I can go to elder, and now they're bald. 50% of the time, they'll have a bald head, a balding head. You know, I have a better view of this. You can see closer. Here we go. You'll be able to see a little bit better. So balding head, full head of hair, balding, full head of hair, full head of hair, balding. Okay, and then there's child. Now this, I haven't really checked this one out too much. I did not tell Gemini how I wanted child to work. I only did adult male. And then it came up with its own, like when will you see these in the game? So I planned on, okay, yeah, now I understand your question. I planned on making these to at least have some sort of a character just kind of floating around inside the town instead of having those little squares. But then I felt like, okay, that's easy to do, but not really getting me very far towards my goal. So I was like, you know, let's at least try and get these guys to walk. So let me show child and see. Let's see if it's as funny as it. Okay, yeah. So this is supposed to be a child, and their heads are big. So if we go back to adult, they're a little bit more proportional. A little bit more. There's a couple situations where it might look like the child, but the heads are usually a little bit more small compared to the body. And if I go to child, they're a little bit bigger. It was more pronounced in a slightly earlier version, but they're a little bit more squashed heads and a little bit bigger. I know that what I should do is make the eyes bigger. We need child eyes. That will really change things and make this more pronounced. But anyway, like I said, I was mostly focusing on the adult, and then letting the AI was just like interpreting what it could. So technically these are females, but yeah, still look pretty male to me. So I'm not too worried about that, but at least I can select things and it generates something, and then I can alter them from there. So that was that. I haven't done the arms and legs, and I stopped because I wanted to not just have these images of people facing the camera all the time and put too much effort in that. So I pivoted and I did this. So this is an animation program that I integrated my pixel art program into its own sandbox in the game code. And what this does is this allows me to animate joints on the body. So it's hard. The labelings are kind of hiding underneath the squares, and I'm going to fix that later. But if I have a left foot is a red square, and a left knee happens to be a black square. Oh, nope, that was a right foot. Left foot is a pink square. Now, a shin bone gets drawn. And then, actually, let me move these up because I already know from earlier in the stream that it was hard to, you couldn't see the animation box if I did this. And then I can do a right foot, and then I can do a right knee, and I have the other leg. And then I do a hip, and they all connect, and I basically have legs. So then I can paste that in. And then the other thing I can do is I can swap the positions. So I can make it like, oh, a step has already been taken. Where did my left knee go? Okay, that's left knee. Okay, right knee. And then let me swap the feet. It's right foot, left foot. Okay, I'll paste that in. And then I need to step forward. So I'm going to step the left foot forward and the left knee a bit. And then I'm going to step the right foot back, and the right knee comes back a bit as well. And paste that in, and I'm starting to get kind of a walking animation. So then I'll do the same thing, but opposite. So I'll do this knee, and that knee, and then this foot, and that foot, and paste. So now I have a 4-frame walking animation. Then what I can do, the reason why I did this, sorry if that was odd. The reason why I did this is I can export this animation, these joints, as coordinates in a 64 by 64 pixel grid as coordinates as a JSON file. So I'll just put the JSON file in the, oh yeah, I already had one. Okay, good. Good, so we can go look at this JSON file, and where did I put it? Put the animation sandbox, and then walk down.json. So now each frame of the animation has the coordinates for the hip, the left knee, the right knee, the left foot, and the right foot. And those are the 4 frames. So what I can do is then my generator sandbox can make graphics for legs, pants, shorts, shoes, and it can plant those graphics that are generated between the joints. And so you can have this image of a pair of pants that will move with the coordinates of the joints of the animations that I've made. And the JSON file will just tell you where to rotate and stretch and place that graphic in those positions. So then I can have an infinitely generated assets of arms and items and shoes and things like that, heads with different faces on them, and they will always move relative to the animations. And so I can make animations of crouching and swinging a sword and picking up an item and chopping down a tree, whatever I think of, and it'll always just end up being data that then the assets can be put on there. Yes, thank you for the super cool and the celebration, and I can't wait to see animation there. Me too. Me too. This is probably going to be a solid week's worth of work just doing this. But I think it would normally take months. And that's the point of this channel, right? That's the point of our channels, is that we are learning and demonstrating how to superpower your own skills that you have by turning months worth of work into weeks, turning weeks worth of work into days, turning days worth of work into hours. And it's happening. Like, I'm experiencing it. So as anything, he's experiencing it. So this is the value that we hope that you guys are getting from our channels. So I only have in the work you've shown today alone would have definitely taken weeks or months for a pro. I believe that as well. Thank you for saying that. I also think so too. So the next step is to add the other joints. A shoulder, an elbow, a hand, a face, maybe having at least 2 positions for the head, like the top of the head and the bottom of the head, or the neck joint and the position of the nose or something. I think I want to be able to rotate the head at least one way. And this is only for facing sideways. I honestly am still trying to figure out how I'm going to animate walking north and south, because the depth in the game is an illusion. So we can actually play around with this. I haven't played around with this yet. So I can make an actually I'm not married to this sequence, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of those frames. I'm just gonna draw on these frames and redo them. So the way I think, imagine writing the code for every button, keeping track of everything, not breaking anything. Yeah. No, I'd rather not imagine that, honestly. But yeah. So I'm about, if you include, actually we can look at it. If you include the white space, if you include the brackets, right now, my code base is somewhere in the ballpark of, really, I'm surprised that it's only 16,000. I thought it was longer. Oh wait, that's right. I think I don't include this directory. So if I do this, and this is by no means intended to be some sort of like flex or brag. This is just an objective observation of how far things go. I have to stop this. Okay, so like I said, I'm not married to this. I don't mind just losing it. So wait, I want to consolidate the files with all the directories. Yeah, sorry. Okay, does that, nope, I'm in the wrong directory. Oh, I'm being lazy here. So if I do everything, I don't think that did it. I'm confused. Well, anyway, this number is close enough, even if maybe it is accurate. So 16,000 lines. I mean, to me, having to have written all of this, not only would that have just taken a lot longer than this project has gone so far, there's a lot that I don't know how to do that's embedded in this code. So I would have had to have learned all those things as well. Some people might criticize, well, then you don't actually know how to code. Another thing is, me and As Anything have talked about this before. I feel like as a game developer, I'm doing a lot of low stakes coding here. I don't have to worry about security issues and people's like money directly and stuff like that. So I'm not too concerned about that criticism. But I think that especially when it comes to this low stakes level of coding, I think that ship has sailed. I don't think you need to know this coding at the beyond the level that basically what I'm demonstrating is I'm not a software developer. I don't know full stack. I don't understand cybersecurity. I'm doing a low stakes coding and I'm getting this far. I'm doing this. I'm getting these kinds of outputs. That's the point. So, and I produced this much code, fully vibe coding. So, maybe this isn't actually that big of an accomplishment. I bet you 6 months from now, it's definitely not going to be a big accomplishment. But we're showing what can be done, because I think, not to put it words in As Anything's mouth, but I think he has basically expressed this before in one of his streams. Like, not a lot of people are doing this. So this is all very new technology, very new workflow concepts. And I keep trying to push the limits. I had a very frustrating day yesterday. where I was wondering if AI was going to solve the problem. I was almost about to pull the ripcord and just revert my git and just like be like let's just start over. But no, I pushed through. Me, Gemini, and Daddy GPT, we figured it out. So here I am. I'm pushing the limits of this vibe coding, and I'm still finding the edges a little further. Like, nope, it could do this, it can do that. So that's been fun. As anything, did you actually solve your problem from your stream? Daddy GPT. Yep, Daddy GPT for the win. Yep. Daddy GPT didn't necessarily rescue like in the past. It was more of a back and forth collaboration between me, Gemini, and ChatGPT. We were a team on that one. A small part of me kind of wishes I had streamed in hindsight, but not much, because it would have been like 3 hours of me just watching me just pulling my hair. There was nothing visual going on. It was just pure prompting. But it did work. So as far as I was asking, as anything, did you fix your problem that you were having on your stream? It sounded at the end like you're kind of getting there. As anything had a bit of a frustrating moment during his stream today that felt very similar to what I was dealing with mine. So I think what I want to do. Oh yeah, I know what I wanted to do. I'm going to go back to the animator, and I'm going to try and play around with the ideas of having a character that looks like it's walking north. So I think more or less I would start with like the hip, and then if this is the right foot, and then the right knee. Okay, this is the right foot. But that would actually be the right foot if we're facing north. Okay, I did solve my problem eventually. I was having trouble getting the test to find the element to click in the app. I figured that out and got to the next error before ending the stream progress. Okay, I thought it seemed like you were figuring it out, and I was thinking about celebrating, but I didn't want to do the annoying, yay, it's working. It's like, well, not really, so I actually wanted to wait and see if it genuinely was a win. So, all right, cool. I'm glad that you were able to figure out your issue. So, okay, I am thinking if we were walking north, and now I only have the hips, knees, and feet. Hips, knees, and feet right now. So usually what I think is if we were going to step forward walking north, we would just see the foot like move like this, right? And then the knee would also move up. Now, if a character is actually moving forward, then we would want the back leg to move down to stay in place relative from our perspective. So I don't think I want the leg to move out like that. So I'm thinking something like this. Yeah, and then it's just the same thing for the return. And then I would move the left foot up and the left knee up. And then I would move the right foot down and the right knee down. Yeah, a little bow-legged looking, but I mean, that would be it, right? So the only thing I can think of is maybe as the leg is moving forward, I might change the shade. So that being said, I do have access to colors a little bit. So if I was to have light brown pants, I am allowed to color between the joints. As long as I don't color over the pixel of the joint itself. So I can give some thickness to the legs. I can paste that, and then I can paste this. Okay, so kind of making some like some leg graphics here. And then when the leg moves underneath the body, maybe it'll get shadowed and change to a darker tone. But then maybe the other leg will just stay lit. I don't think I'm going to make it go brighter, but I'm trying to mimic a shadow. Okay, so I paste that. And then I do the opposite for the other leg. Again, I am not a pixel artist. I don't know if this is making a lot of sense. I actually started watching some videos of like Stardew Valley to kind of get some inspiration on animations, because I feel like the art style of Stardew Valley is not exactly what I'm looking for, but it's a close equivalent, and it's a highly successful game, so why not try to learn as much as I can from a game that's basically made by like probably over $1 million. Okay, yeah, so here we go. And it's kind of subtle. I mean, maybe if I had a background like a green, like a grassy background, it would make more like be more visible. Maybe I don't need to color the pants dark all the way up. Maybe just like the shin area needs to go into the shadow. So that could be a possibility, where I lighten up the pants a little bit at the top, but only at the bottom it gets darker. Yeah, I kind of like it. Okay, I think I'm getting somewhere. I mean, like, this is definitely taking a bit of the anxiety off of me here, whether or not this is a workflow that leads to a long-term solution. Now I just gotta like commit and make like a neck. So I could go from hip to neck, and then maybe out to each shoulder, and then elbow, hand. Yeah. So I just need to keep, I think I'm going to keep the gray colors off limits, because then I have a nice monochrome palette to work with in trying to create some depth effects. I can still play around with that. But then all the other colors can be assigned to different joints. Yes, this is feeling good. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't intend on this being a super long stream, a super late stream. I think I'm going to just make those adjustments. I do like this animation. I'm going to save this one. This will be walk north. All right. Okay, so what was the final decision here on this JSON file? Of course, a great place to store data files like animation JSONs is within the data asset data directory. Oh, wait, it's over some buttons there. Following the existing pattern used. Oh, you can't see what I'm reading. Following the existing pattern used for items, this keeps your data organized and separate from your graphical assets. I'll create a new subdirectory. Okay, so it's doubling down on the. Wait, am I on the? Hold on. No, sorry, I did feel like I'd read that before. Okay. No, this is actually answering my question of, are we sure I should put it in the main directory for the game, or should I put it in the sandbox directory? Okay, it's an excellent question about project structure and data flow. It gets to the heart of how these different tools should interact. You're correct that eventually the NPC generator sandbox will need to be aware of the animation data to properly skin the skeleton. However, the best practice is to keep the animation.json files in the asset. And okay, it's still okay. So it is doubling down. It's like, no, let's go ahead and put those JSON files in the main directory. Single source of truth. The assets folder is the central repository for all data and graphics that the final game, the story of someone, will use. The animation data is a game asset, just like item data or textures. The main game engine will need to load these JSON files at runtime to actually animate the NPCs. That's a good point. It is a foundational animation information. Keeping them in the assets folder ensures the main game can always find them. And I'm already gonna kind of jump ahead. I think it's like, and then you can just take the animation or the assets they generate and slap them onto the skeletons. You can pull them out of the sandbox, because that's what I do with basically the town and the dungeons. I create a dungeon skeleton, and then I expand on it when it gets exported to the main game. And then I slap the asset art onto the different tiles. So yeah, I was losing the vision of how this game has been operating so far. So tools versus game assets. The sandboxes, the generator and the animation sandbox, are tools used to create assets. The assets themselves should live in a location independent of the tools. This way, you could even delete a sandbox project, and the assets it created will still be safe and usable by the main game. Yeah. Yeah, that's... Man, it's as if the AI is like really smart. Accessibility. The NPC generator sandbox can absolutely access the JSON files from the asset data animations NPC directory. The path from the generator's executable to that folder is stable within your project structure. It would look something like this. You know what? As anything, when you do streams, you try to have a topic. I just thought of a topic for this stream that can be like thought about for while I'm making my last little adjustment. My topic is people have been criticizing or saying, like Apple put out that paper, that these AI models don't reason. I might have talked about this a little bit before, but I would like to make it my topic of the day. I've also had people that I know personally say, it's like, when I say it's like, well, I mean, the AI is like thinking about this, and they've actually stopped me and be like, well, hold on, it's not thinking. I'm like, all right, then what's it doing? What should we call it? So that's basically two separate questions. If it's not thinking, if it's not reasoning, but it's doing this amazing thing, describe, what is it doing then? And if we can't call it thinking and we can't call it reasoning, do we need a new word? That's my thought of the day. Because I think we can squash the criticism of using a word that doesn't seem to agree with people, but is doing something. I am perfectly okay with coming up with a new word. I don't have a suggestion, by the way. All right. So the workflow envisioned. Your plan is spot on, but the combination step happens in the NPC generator sandbox, which will read from the animation data asset location. Oh, so you're disagreeing with me, but you're still doing your plan, right? Gemini is like, your plan is spot on, but the combination step happens. Oh, okay. Good. I'm not trying to tell you to do something that's not a good idea here, Gemini. Like, stick to your guns if you really think this is the better way. You use an NPC animation sandbox to create a walkdown.json file. You save this file to the main directory's asset folder. You then run NPC generator sandbox. It will load the walkdown.json file from the asset directory. Okay. Use the joint data from that file for each frame to paint the NPC's body parts, skin, clothes, etc. onto a 64x64 canvas. Combine these painted frames into a final sprite sheet. Export the final sprite sheet to the store. Okay, cool. Yes, I am absolutely okay with this plan. All right. Okay, the change I made in the previous step already sets up the NPC animation sandbox to save to this correct centralized location. Therefore, no further code changes are needed. So I can go back to the previous answer and do the things that Gemini gave me, which, awesome. All right, I really loved that interaction I just have with the non-thinking, non-reasoning AI. So, I see as anything, it's a good topic. I think it might be more fitting to describe it only as a thought rather than thinking. That's an interesting thought. A prompt is a static thing going into a static LLM. So it's more of a noun than more of a noun than a verb. Yeah. Okay. Do you watch Wes Roth YouTube videos? And if so, he has been highlighting some papers or some articles that are talking about, I'm getting lost. I mean, there's so much AI news every single day, but the point is an AI, it might have been Grok 4, having fluid learning, or kind of like the AI is kind of able to get better at figuring out things, or even get more efficient of its understanding of things it already understands. And there's a possibility there might be some fluid learning, I think, was the main thing that they were talking about, and that could be a sign of actually considering the AIs to have intelligence if they can change how they learn on their own. And then maybe based on your static definition, then it would go from being a thought to thinking. If even across different chats, it changes how it's approaching solving future prompts. I see you are pondering. All right. Yeah, I'll let that. One thing, I'll let the delay catch up and see what your response might be. That while I'm doing that, I'll update my code here. Yeah. So this is more of a housekeeping thing. I don't think there's going to be any visible differences. One thing so I have a couple goals here in this situation. So okay, animation sandbox main game. Not only do I want to successfully get some basic animations made with some really basic asset art slapped on top and prove the concept, but I want to get my NPCs back into the world. So like my thumbnail is "Where did everybody go?" or something like that is like the thumbnail I made, because my town is empty. Like everybody went invisible. It's kind of sad. Like I'm used to little pink squares sliding around all over the place, and now there's nobody except my player in a ghost town. Oh, you knew about that. Okay. All right, that was a pretty minor update, and it looks like everything is still working. I don't see any errors or warnings. Let's so most of my changes were done in the animation sandbox, so let's make sure that still runs. Looks like it should. I don't see any errors. Okay, still runs. And then I made a change to the main project of the game, so let's make sure the main game still runs. Okay. Yeah, good. All right. Let's go into a dungeon. Yeah. Try to avoid the slime. No. Oh, got into a fight. Okay, yeah. I can't wait to go shopping and actually fight some things, but I do want to have an NPC that does stuff. So I think I'm going to try to stick to my guns, not worry about gameplay too much, and get some basic NPC motion. You got a response here. I don't know about the grok process you mentioned, but I would call that evolution or iteration with each prompt and response. A different but static thing. But I'm just thinking through this now. Then what? Okay, so since it's a static thing, that's your response. How is human thought not static? That's my challenge to that thought. The thought of thought being static and thinking being dynamic. How are humans then thinking and not just thoughting? And I don't want to start a new topic. I'll try to save it for next stream. But I have another topic that I had with one of my students today at the end of class. And it's related to some stuff that you've mentioned as anything about your optimism about AI in the world. But I'm going to keep my cards close to my chest. I don't want to distract our conversation we're having today. But remind me if I forget that I want to talk about something that is related to the optimistic future that AI might bring us. And I want to tell you the story of how my student responded to this optimistic future. By the way, my student is older than me, and I'm in my 40s. He's in his 50s. So, take student out of, context being that, my student is actually higher in age than I am. But his response was very interesting. But that's for the next stream. All right. Now I have to decide. I want to do one update to the code, and then I think I'm going to call it for the night. Oh, okay. As anything, I think that thinking, LOL, is an ongoing thing that is more like a computer thinking than an AI thinking. Oh, interesting. I agree that there is a difference between computer thinking and AI thinking. And I think I'm on the same page as you as to what you mean by that. When you send a prompt, you could freeze frame and see the snapshot of the entire AI thought. Okay, I mean, that is definitely different than how humans think. You can't take a snapshot of a human thought. If we were to consider the software version of a neural network to be the closest we've ever come to creating a proxy for a human brain, because the neural network is modeled off of our understanding of neural networks, biological neural networks. Am I interpreting this as basically one chat is one neural network's existence? And this is a thought I've never had before, but you just kind of triggered this in me with your last comment. Are we killing, or at least putting into purgatory, a neural network when we stop our chat? And are we birthing a new one when we start a new one? I'm going to try and hang on to that thought and start asking some other people this kind of thing. But we may have to preface it with your static thinking concept that you've brought into this conversation, which I like. Okay, here you go. Maybe if you flash the neural network thought fast enough, it's like a flip book animation that creates the illusion of thinking. Okay, all right, like an animation. Okay, yeah. I still feel like we're on the same page. I still feel like I think I understand what you're saying, and it's these are concepts I've never considered before. So keep them coming. This is interesting. All right. And then maybe we could follow up with the conversation on your stream. If you got a day to think about it, I'll try to attend your stream tomorrow, and I'll let you babble on about it as well. I hadn't thought about this before either. Yeah, right. This is a good one. This is stimulating stuff right here. I like this. I feel like you and I should just start a podcast. like not just our streaming, but maybe we should just talk about AI stuff and and see what we come up with. Maybe just like 30 minutes a day or something. That'd be kind of fun. All right. So I think the one thing that I'm going to do before the end of and I stop this stream is I want to add colors. I got to figure out how to reference these colors. I do have the hex codes. It's a little tedious. I can't copy and paste. What am I doing here? Okay. I can't copy and paste the hex codes off of my window. Oh, maybe I could just do, but yeah, it's just six alphanumeric characters. I might make it my topic tomorrow. Please do. That'd be fun. Okay, so I want to be a little bit more organized. I think I want the feet to be these two colors at the bottom. So let me get their hex codes. First, I'm going to move the existing anatomy, existing joints to new colors. So I'm going to do, all right, let's move the existing joints to new assigned colors. The left foot should be hex code AC3232. The right foot should be hex, I gotta click on it, D95763. All right, and then we'll work our way up the body. So I'm just gonna jump back and forth from brown to green, brown to green. So things on the left will be brown, things on the right will be green. So left knee will be hex code. Let me click on that one. That is 663931. And right knee will be five 524 B24. And then hip. The hip will be hex. Okay, so then we'll go hip, and I might make a left hip and a right hip. So in anticipation for that, I'll make the hip be at the shadows level. So that'll be 8F563B. Okay, and I can't read the labels, so I can't read the labels under the color palette boxes. Oops. Please spread out the boxes a bit to allow the text. I'm definitely getting tired of having a hard time typing. Allow the text to be visible. All right, let's fix these typos and let's press go. Palette. Spread out. Okay. All right. That should be good. And then I think I'll do one more after this where I'm going to add like the bottom of the neck, shoulders, elbows, and hands. That's a lot to ask. Do I have room for that? So maybe I can make the neck. Okay, so it goes to shoulders. I think I should go up higher. So maybe I do hands at the deep mid level, elbows, yeah, and then shoulders at light mid with the bottom of the neck. And then I could do like upper neck and then two positions on the head. Yeah, I think I'm just kind of fitting this in a way that'll feel intuitive to me based on like the relative heights of the different parts of the anatomy. So I almost have a little bit of almost like the skeleton is actually in the color palette in almost the correct positions. Yeah, this is kind of exciting. I like this. This is going to be fun. I've already proven a general idea of being able to walk up in north and south and left and right. So I think this is going to be a workable solution. Hopefully it will be the solution. The only thing that I don't like is that I would like there to be inverse kinematics in my animation. However, I think I might save that for the hero. And if I like it enough, then I'll port it over to my NPCs. But I at least want to have some NPCs walking around doing stuff. I want to start feeling like the town has some life to it. Okay, so NPC sandbox joints. Update this file. And if this works, then I will commit, because I am happy with how this has been turning out. And then color palette. I'm actually kind of curious about how these files are working, especially here. Oh, look at that. Oh, I like how VS Code will actually, when you type hex code in, it gives you a little preview. I think I can move it around too. I'm not going to click, but I think I can move this around and it'll just update the hex code. Really cool feature for an IDE. Yeah, that's fun. That's nice. I'm impressed by that. Okay, let's see how well this. Okay, come on. Ooh, okay. This is something minor. Got these errors. Wonder why I'm not seeing it in the actual file here. Saying I've got errors in UI config, and I don't see any errors in UI config. Oh no, it's an app context. Well, even then, I don't see errors in app. Okay, yeah, there it is. Yeah, you know, as anything, your idea about the thought, thinking, the staticness of it is such a new concept to me that I don't even have any follow up yet. I got to process that one, and it's kind of actually making me want to go back and watch the videos about the fluid learning. Because I feel like now there's an extra personal incentive to understand that concept a little bit more deeply to see if it's relevant to what we are talking about. Okay, looks like that cleared it up. Right, look at that. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, I think I would like to I understand why this color's over here, but I'm not really using these color palettes for this reason anymore, for the reason of art. But the reason why I'm keeping the color palette is because I want to have some somewhat distinguishable colors for the joints. So might as well use the color palette that I'm used to. Not that I'm used to much of anything when it comes to color palettes and art yet, but so I want to move. Let's move. And I get the hex code for this one. D95763. Position under color box. And then for right knee, hex 524 B24. Be more clear. Let them have the same vertical. Is that how I want to say it? Positioning. I think it'll get what I'm trying to say. I want this hex code to be in the same column. Okay, I think I have been like abundantly clear what I want here. Then I can start rearranging some of the other things, like the animation box is cut off at the bottom. I could just make the window bigger, which is what I might do. But then these buttons, I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing. They're overlapping the animation box. Looks a little sloppy. I should try to move them around. Trying to remember where those settings are. Is there a config? Okay, well, here's a buttons file. Is this the positioning? No. Oh, app config. There it is. Yeah, and there's a lot of relative positioning. So it can get a little confusing. Actually, this is a lot more sparse than I remember. So it might be somewhere else. I'll have to ask. Oh, UI config. There we go. Yes, this is where it is. This gets you can get lost in this. This is like the position of every single, the X and Y position and the button size and everything, just hard coded in. Yeah, so I don't think that's something that's very exciting for me to do on stream. So I'll probably do that behind the scenes off stream. Okay, what do we got? Okay, color palette. Okay, understood. I will adjust the color palette and move under color assignments accordingly. Okay, hopefully this is what I want. So color palette. Okay. And then joints. Is this the whole thing? Yep. It's a very small file. All right. Yeah, Control C just doesn't want to work with this particular program. No, not next to it, under. Let's see here. I might be able to do it myself. Why is it in these files? Let's see. So really, this is where it's in one of these files that we're positioning all of the Okay. Well, I'm not gonna make a big deal about this tonight. I don't want to be going back and forth worrying about this. I'm going to let's add let's work our way up from the hip. So you know what? Actually, I'm not gonna do. Am I gonna do a neck? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a left and right hip. And then I'm going to do a left and right shoulder and make a squared torso for the anchoring. So then I can like stretch and rotate. And then I'll have the arms go to the elbows and the elbows go to the hands. So I'm going to do a left hip and right hip. Okay. This is going to be interesting to describe. Okay. If I finish this prompt, I am intending this to be my final prompt of the night. So I want to expand the detail of the skeleton. Let's add let's change. Let's change hip to left hip. Let's add a right hip. Left shoulder and right shoulder. Okay, I'm going to just do that first because I also have to describe how they're connected. Left hip connects to left knee, right hip, and left shoulder. Right hip, this is why I'm only going to do so many at one time. Right hip connects to right knee, left hip, and right shoulder. For now, left shoulder connects to left hip and, okay, left shoulder connects to left hip and right shoulder. Right shoulder connects to right hip and left shoulder. Okay, that probably was more obvious as a passive observer than it was for me to do manually. Okay, I want to expand. Let's change the hip to left hip. Let's add a right hip. Oh, and I need to do the hex code. Okay, so right hip, and then I can do parentheses, hex, 4B692F. Okay. And left shoulder is hex. So I want to go up. So this is going to be hand, elbow. So this is shoulder. So it's going to be EEC39A. And then right shoulder (99E550). Okay, that's everything Yep. Okay, I think it's safe for me to press go. All right. Okay, add some more body parts. Then I feel like, yeah, if I have like the shoulder rotation, not only can I bring maybe some sort of a graphic for the left and right of like some sort of front graphic and back graphic when looked at from the sideways, but I can also bring up and down the left and right shoulder and the left and right hip for the walking animation, and it can kind of like maybe rotate the art. So we'll see how well that idea works, and I don't necessarily have to, but at least I have the option. Excellent idea. Expanding the skeleton will allow for more detailed and expressive animations, like I just said. I will update the joint definitions and the running logic to accommodate the new structure. All right, so joints. All right, pixel canvas. Where is that? Right there. Yeah, I'm so glad I was able to rescue this sandbox because I was really, really struggling with this sandbox yesterday and almost bailed on it. It was really close, but I decided to take a break, come back to it later. Still had to fumble with it a little bit more, wrestle with it a little bit more, but eventually got it. And it's paying off right now because I'm feeling pretty good about this technique. Okay, there we go. Left shoulder. Right, oh, let me actually do some connections. So left foot, left knee, left hip, right hip. Let me actually, yeah, now the hips are connected. Okay, so then right knee, right foot. All right, and then right shoulder. Freaking out, left shoulder. Look at that. Look at that. That's a body shape. And then I can make them, I wonder if I guess, maybe I need to make a belly. I don't know, because like hips, or you know, maybe this could be kind of like a little bit more, oops. Maybe this could be a bit more female anatomy. You know, a bit wider hips. Not necessarily want to make the knees all turned in like that, but then that's a potential. And if I really want to get more complicated, I could put a waistline, so for skinny and fat, and I might do that. We'll see how much detail. I think that's something that I can make a change later. Like I could have a general body for a while, and the legs and everything I'm imagining in my head wouldn't get broken if I decided to just add a waist, and then I could change the body art asset generator for that extra detail of breaking the body up into 2 or 3 pieces, the torso up into 2 or 3 pieces. So yeah, so the next thing would be like arms, like elbows and hands, and then I can start maybe wow, this might actually work. I can turn the grid off. Okay, I'm gonna take this as a win. I do have some things I have to do tomorrow morning, so I can't stay up too late. As anything, as always, thanks for. Oh, looks like I had a little glitch there, but hopefully I'm still technically connected. Looks like it. Yeah. Oh, me. Hold on. Yeah. Looks like I'm still connected. Okay. Yeah. As anything, thanks. Okay. Yeah. Glitch, but I'm good. All right. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for joining me. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it done. I'm gonna commit this, and next time you see me, I might have the rest of the anatomy done, and then I have to start figuring out how I'll start adding art. So yeah, my name is Justin. This is AI for the Masses. This is the continuing Doug blog of my game Story of Someone. Thanks again one more time to As Anything. Check out his stream. He streams every day, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good night.